Welcome to Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Pace Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show!
Welcome. Wholesale Hotline number 117.
Bam.
I am
117 episodes? Back to back to back?
117. How many years is that? It's more than 2, I'll tell you that. I'm Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, here with Jamil Damji, Mr. Astro, Mr. Keegley, Pace Morby, Mr. Sub 2, and our favorite attorney on planet Earth. Are you kidding me? Rilus Dana. What's up, Rilus? We're so excited to have you on here tonight.
So excited to be here with what I call the Wholesale Holy Trinity, and also my favorite show. That's my name for the three of you, the Wholesale Holy Trinity, or PB&J. But yeah, so glad to be here. I've learned so much from the show, tuning in, and the comment section is always great. So excited to be here and help in whatever way I can.
Rilus, when was the last time we had Rilus on the hotline? Because I know Rilus from like episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Rilus has been a supporter, a friend of the show, a friend of ours from the beginning of this whole journey. And so Rilus, first and foremost, I met you through Pace. You and I had done deals together before we actually ever met. Your reputation precedes you in town as being the authority when it comes to understanding probate law and how to do these types of transactions, how to be the best advocate for your client, but also having an open enough mind to work diligently with investors. You are a bridge. You are a bridge between two worlds, Rilus, that I think is really important that everybody understand here how to walk and navigate. And so again, thank you for being on here with us tonight, brother. You are fabulously loved.
And what other top tier attorney is getting into the mix with so many wholesalers, so many investors from around the country going in and sharing and supporting and being here and answering questions? It's incredible. It's such an honor to have you on here. And thank you so much for all the support and all the love. Thank you, Rilus.
Yeah, so it's really a great community, and really thank you to all of your communities for welcoming me. I can't say that word. So Pace invited me. It was the batch offices. He's like, hey, come down on a Saturday. We'll go live on Facebook or something. And that's when I met Jamil. We had that conversation. You can see it somewhere. And then I met Brent. Pace said, hey, why don't you come to this REI meetup? And Brent Daniels was the speaker. And I was hooked. I felt that energy from Brent. You talked about kind of like his recipe for a wholesaler, like what a successful day looked like. And I'm like, wow, these are my people. These guys get it. And I've done deals with your community, so I appreciate bringing the probates to me in Arizona. And it's been great helping your communities solve their problems and do deals. And now I'm trying to create a community like this for attorneys, where attorneys help each other out. So
sorry, I laughed there. I thought he just said Santa Claus was real.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
So here's a place where we can start. So here's not how to build a relationship with attorneys. don't complain to the bar. If you don't like anything I say, don't complain to the bar about this. So I had a lovely 30-minute conversation with the representative from the bar because of that. So, like wholesalers are kind of hated in some circumstances. I like how you guys have talked about like realtors with the name tag.
Oh yeah.
Like those types of people, how
They call themselves realtors.
Yes. And I think it was one of those who didn't like a thing that I did for attorneys and I'm trying to get the attorneys to leverage your community, people like yourselves that can make the attorneys look good. And she thought that I guess attorneys shouldn't do that. And she complained to the bar. So I got a nice call. I always hate getting those. It's like anxiety level.
Oh yeah.
I'm having a good day until I check my messages that someone from the state bar called and they said,
Rilus, just so that people who may not understand, when somebody complains to the bar, that's like going up and saying, hey, I ordered a vodka soda, not a tequila and Coke.
Yeah, they're telling on me. They're telling on me. They're saying
that was such a good joke.
Different kind of bar.
Oh,
different kind of bar.
Oh man.
different bar. Yep.
Damn it.
This is the regulators of lawyers.
Yeah.
So in dealing with that, I'm kind of hoping you wholesalers get a little bit more regulation. You're so lucky not to have to to deal with that level of oversight. But just because someone complains, they had to look into it. So they said, hey, we want a copy of that recording, and nothing. I don't hear anything for a couple months, and then I get the call back like, okay, we've everything. The nice thing is the guy said, we're going to dismiss this, but we still have to talk to you. It's like I got in trouble. I had to sit there and take my lecture. The good thing is they said that everything I'm doing is proper because I'm disclosing everything, but that I got to be
Isn't
careful.
it funny how you're doing it all right, yet you still have to take the lecture?
Yeah. So I learned a lot from Keegley's contracts. So that's what I nerd out about. Keegley does a great job at all your disclosures and things like that. And I know you've paid some attorneys there.
I mean, the facts is that early on, the regulators, they showed up at our door and they were like, you know why we're here, right? Oh yeah, come on inside. Let's go sit, have a seat. Yeah. And so we went. That's when the days where everybody is getting licensed. All these contracts have to have these disclosures, all the things, because my goal in forming Keegley was to always sell it. Right? I didn't start a wholesale business to make chunks of dunks. I chose it. I started a wholesale business so that I could slam dunk.
To build an asset.
Yeah. Right. And so anyhow, Rilus, again, just even with all the things that you brought up just now with, the regulators and all that, guys, give Rilus some freaking love here for, after having just gotten lectured from the bar, still coming out and showing up to show people how to do this at a high level. Brother, you are an example of bravery and awesomeness all put into one handsome package.
Yeah. So
Rilus has been doing this for a long time, guys, right? Rilus and I have been doing deals for, I believe, a little over 3 years. And Rilus, from the very beginning, always wanted to understand the investor side, right? So I met him actually at a party where primarily the people who were at the party were investors. And we became friends very quickly. And it was that summer, Jamil, if you remember, and Brent, if you remember, I was coming in on Saturdays because that was the only time I had the time. And we would come in and collaborate. And Rilus was talking about, I want to change the game forever for real estate attorneys and probate attorneys to collaborate with each other, because the energy you guys have in your rooms, the energy you guys have in your podcasts, in your side chat, and all of those types of things is different. It is absolutely different. There's no other industry. And I will also argue that there actually was not an industry that was like this until there's about 5 of us that I would say have actually created this energy in this space. Steve Trang being one of the first people to create a podcast that was very all-inclusive, getting people to come on and talking about how their business operated, and people in the side chat actually being able to communicate and actually have a conversation on a live show. Then Sunday Service was one of those things. And then Sunday Service was spawned, and then Wholesale Hotline was spawned. And Rilus, what's amazing is, even though you've been a guest on the show, one of the best parts about you is that you come on the show in the side comments and help people frequently with their deals, their questions, etc. You've always had that energy. And so today, I think everybody needs to understand what is the reason why Rilus is here. Okay. Besides the fact that he's a friend of ours, we've made money with him. He is very investor facing in the sense that he wants everybody to understand, hey, you can actually go out and help these real estate attorneys, probate attorneys, et cetera. And hey, attorneys, do you not understand that real estate agents and real estate investors can actually make you look amazing to your clients by providing an additional benefit and service to them? Now, just last week, I got 3 leads from Rilus Dana, 3. One of them, I found out I went to the house, knocked on the door, we called the number, we did multiple follow-ups, but we didn't follow up enough. And we found out that lead ended up going and selling to somebody else. They're going to foreclosure tomorrow. So, but we get leads from Rilus week in and week out because we have the ability to make him look good to his clients by offering very specific things. Okay. And so what we wanted to do is talk about that today. How do I approach a probate attorney? Maybe briefly. How do I work with a probate attorney? How does that benefit me in my real estate business? And then I also believe that people out here have tons of questions about what in the freak is probate and why do I need to even know what it is? Because what we forget, although we get 100,000 plus downloads on a weekly basis for Wholesale Hotline, we forget that there's a lot of brand new listeners that have no clue what a probate attorney does and how that probate attorney can help them make money in their real estate business. So let's focus on that today, guys. In the comments, please let us know what questions you have regarding, okay, with Preston Dahl right out of the gate, right out of North Dakota. Preston Dahl, I call him the king of the North. He says, Rilus, what are the words and phrases to avoid when you're talking to a probate attorney? What are things that real estate investors or agents or other people say that maybe make you cringe? What are things to avoid saying to a probate attorney?
What will get you the sword from an attorney?
Real estate investor. Just don't say that. No, just kidding. I can't think of any specific phrases, but I would just say have a specific property in mind when you call, right? So if your call, like, just be really clear with what you're looking for. You don't say like, I have this friend, and then you'll come straight to what the deal is and what you're looking for.
So you're saying, Rilus, come with an opportunity, come with a property, or come with a potential probate deal for you before, because a lot of people are just going to want to start cold calling probate attorneys and seeing if they have any houses that need contracts.
Yeah, so you might be a little too early. So if you call me or if you call a probate attorney, know who you're talking to, right? Like have a little facts, like so whose name is the title in? So probably dead. If they're calling me, they're probably dead, but I want to know, is that in their name individually or was it in the name of a trust? If it's in their name individually, did they have a will or no will? You need to figure out who the decision maker is going to be.
Ooh, I like this. Why don't we do this? Why don't we start from the very top?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think what you're doing is laying out a very specific set of questions that you should know before you call a probate attorney. And I think that's like step 2, step 3, or step 4, potentially. Why don't we start? There's a lot of people in the comments. Edgar says, thank you, Pace. Back to the basics. So let's get to the basics, right? Let's make sure we're talking to people as if they're 3-year-olds and have never heard of probate before, because right here, Hannah says, yeah, what the freak is a probate? Let's start there, guys. Let's start right there. What is a probate, Rilus? And why the hell should we care?
So here's how I describe it. If the person on title is dead, that's when you need to know what probate is. So probate is the legal process to change title of an asset out of the name of the deceased. So if you're dealing with a property, I feel like that should be early on, right? Figure out who the owner is, right? How is it titled? And if the person where it's titled, if they're dead, then you're going to need probate or some way to get authority.
Here's a question for you. Let's follow that up. We now know what probate is. Probate is the legal process of taking title of a property and from somebody who has passed away, and then transferring it to whoever the responsible party or the inheritant or the people who are going to inherit that property are. It's that process. What is there a time where you use probate, and is there a time where you don't use probate? Is there a time where maybe somebody who passes away doesn't need to go through the probate process, doesn't need a probate attorney, doesn't need any of that stuff? What's the answer to that?
Yeah, or here could be another scenario. So someone today, actually a sub-2 student reached out to me, and they're working on a deal, and she said she was working with the power of attorney. And I said, have you seen the power of attorney? Are they actually power of attorney? And she's like, no, there's not actually a contract, but it's only family member. I'm like, okay, well that's a big difference. Like we got to start off with who is going to sign the contract. Is someone there able to sign the contract? So that's sometimes called a living probate. If someone is alive but has dementia, then you got to figure out who's going to sign the contract. But if it's in the name of a dead person, Arizona and California, they do have a probate substitute if it's less than 100 or 150,000 of equity. So there is a way if it's below a certain equity number, at least in the states that I practice in. Probate's going to be state specific. So you need to check with an attorney in the state.
Who determines equity?
Who determines equity? So the way we do it in Arizona, they look at it's the tax assessed value. So to do a real property affidavit in Arizona, if the assessed value in the year that you're filing it. So even if they died 5 years ago, we're going to file it in 2022. So we see what the tax assessed value is in 2022. If we're in California, they have what's called a probate referee. So you have to get a special appraiser that's appointed by the county where they determine the value.
Got it. What percent, Rilus, what percent of properties go through probate? Do you know?
What percent? I don't know the percentage of properties.
If you don't go through probate, what happens? You just inherit the property?
Yeah. So the other thing that could happen is there's another owner on title, right? So there's two people. One dies, there's still one owner. Or another way that could happen is it's owned by a trust, and then the trust says where to transfer title to. A will does not avoid probate. A will just says where things go, but it doesn't actually transfer title. A will says.
So how do we avoid probate?
So you avoid probate by naming a beneficiary or by creating a trust. So usually,
okay. So this is why when people say, Pace, why do I need a trust? Right? I have an LLC. Why do I need a trust? Is this exactly one of the multiple reasons why somebody should get a trust for their family?
Yeah, it is. That's the main reason why, is to avoid probate, have a way to transfer everything.
Okay, and what would that type of trust be called that somebody could get and avoid probate altogether?
It's called a revocable trust or revocable living trust.
Okay, so I could get a revocable living trust now while I'm alive, and then my children or the heirs of my estate would never have to worry about going through the probate process that so hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every single month in Maricopa County have to go through the probate process because they did not set up an estate plan, which is something that a probate attorney actually does for you. You guys don't just handle the probate process. You guys handle the wills. You guys handle the trust that prevent people from having to actually go through that probate process, right?
Correct.
Why the hell do people not do that?
I don't know. We try to tell them. I think they don't want to acknowledge their mortality. It's kind of weird to think about what's going to happen when you die. And some people just don't ever want to.
It's kind of like, don't eat that candy. You're going to get diabetes in 20 years. Stop eating that candy. Hey, stop smoking. You're going to get lung cancer. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. And then you wake up and you have a problem. You're like, man, I should have got a living trust.
Yeah. Or maybe they think they don't have enough money. It doesn't apply to them.
Is it expensive to get a trust?
It's all relative. It's cheaper than probate. It's cheaper than what that is. So
that's a great answer. I love that. So anybody that's in the side chat, if you guys have not gotten a trust set up for you and your family, definitely talk about, you guys need to do this. You absolutely need to do this. I have multiple trusts for multiple different reasons. I have a business trust. I have a family trust. I have all sorts of trusts. And Rilus Dana sets up a lot of trust for people. So if you guys are in Arizona, look him up. If you guys are in California, look him up. Also, one of the things he said at the very beginning of this is he says, and I've done this with Rilus, we've sent him a lot of business. In order to get a probate attorney's attention and develop a relationship with them, bring them a deal. So check this out right here. Alex says, I have a deal locked up. Sellers need to do an affidavit of heirship. Let's say that I'm Alex. Is that something I could hire you for, Rilus? Bring that to you and you could help me out with that, something like that?
Maybe. Is that in Arizona or California? I don't.
No, I'm just saying in general. Is that something that a probate attorney could help with?
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. So if you have sellers that they need something to transfer title, I can help with those.
Love it. So guys, in your state, like Alex has an opportunity right now to go and develop a relationship with Rilus. I've had a relationship with Rilus for over 3 years. It's a continual flow of deals. It all starts by you saying, hey, I've got a deal locked up, Mr. Probate Attorney. Can you help me with this affidavit of heirship? And by the way, you have my loyalty. I will bring opportunities to you going forward. Is there any way we can set up a relationship? And then a month or two later, start asking them for opportunities from their side, and they'll start giving those to you. What the hell is a double probate? Scott says, I lost an $85,000 assignment to auction on a double probate situation. Learned a huge lesson on that one.
2 probates, like maybe something was in the name of grandpa, and then it went to his child, and that person died too. So maybe they got it out of one, but still another one was required.
Does that happen that often?
Yeah. Double probates where there's a couple layers to it, where as you start dissecting it, you figure out there's multiple dead people on title.
Love it. Absolutely. All right. So Corey G says, Rilus, how long does a probate process take on average? Now, Arizona is different than California, but in your experience, what would it typically take because you're getting clients come through and go, hey, Rilus, my parents just passed away. We've got to go through the probate, or you get a wholesaler or a real estate agent that says the same thing. And they always are going to ask, how long do you think this will take? And your answer, besides it depends, because that usually is every stinking attorneys. Yeah. In fact, if I was an attorney, people would say, what's the name of your law firm? I'd say, it depends law firm. That would be the name of my law firm. So besides the answer, it depends, what would be your experience on how long this takes?
Yeah. So 2 things. One, I'll say how long until they have the authority to sell. So that could be about 4 to 6 weeks. How long is the total probate going to take? Probably 9 to 12 months. So,
9 to 12 months. Damn.
And that's Arizona. California, a lot longer. So probate, I describe it as a lot of hurry up and wait. So, but the first part is you want to get someone the authority, because a lot of times there's a foreclosure or something kind of some deadline coming up. So we follow.
Yeah, what does that mean, Rilus, to get somebody the authority? Like, I get a list from Probates Daily. I used to get it from a company called alltheleads.com. One of them.
Man, they were great. I used them for a couple of years. They were awesome.
Well, and you get these leads, right? Did somebody already talk to an attorney? Would this be a good thing for me to reach out and say, hey, how far along in the process are you? Do you need an attorney? And then bring it to you, Rilus, to walk them through the steps and then give me a shot at it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think outside of the box of just calling somebody up and being like, hey, do you want to sell this property? As opposed to, hey, listen, I work with this amazing probate attorney that can really help you out and walk you through this process. When I get these lists, have they already talked to an attorney typically, or are these people that I should be reaching out and referring to you? Because I think that's the key. The key is bring the business to probates and then to the probate attorneys. And that's what Jamil was talking about. Don't just call up probate attorneys and go, hey, you got any deals for me? It's not going to work. You got to build a relationship first. So would that be a good first step, Rilus?
Yeah, so it depends. So where are you getting the data from?
Right on. Cute.
So good.
But Brent, if you're getting probate leads, that means there's already a probate open in that case.
Right.
So that means there's already an attorney. In most cases, there's an attorney. Some people open probate by themselves, but I would say most of them probably do it with an attorney. So if you're getting the leads that way, that there's already a probate open, then you could either contact the seller themselves, that they're getting bombarded, or you can attempt to contact the attorney as well, who's also getting bombarded.
So do we just, through our regular calling and our regular marketing and our regular lead generation, we run across people that are like, oh, the owner actually passed away and we're not sure what to do and who inherits it? That's when you bring them to you? That's like, is there any lists? Is there any way that we can get that information beforehand?
Obituaries.
Is that it?
I mean, what Rilus is describing right now is a pre-probate process, right? When you and I get a probate list,
right,
Rilus is already the lawyer,
right,
or someone like him.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I always wondered that. Yeah.
And that's why you're getting stonewalled. Wholesalers, you're getting stonewalled when you call is because Rilus already has a relationship with a PACE or somebody like that. And so when you call these attorneys and you're not coming to them with an opportunity, you're basically calling them with nothing to offer that they don't have 1,000 of.
Well, they have PACE has a great strategy for this. And we've talked about this for a couple of years. PACE, why don't you kind of break down the way that you like initiate these relationships with different attorneys by being their go-to person for anything, right? Can you speak to that, PACE?
What's your cold open with the probate attorney?
So I came up with this. Typically, I was telling somebody the other day, they said, do you meditate? And I said, yeah, I meditate in a very different way. Jamil sits in a quiet place. He's quiet. I watch him meditate all the time. He lays in his bed, puts his headphones in. I don't know what you're listening to when you're meditating. What are you listening to, by the way?
It's sounds of whales.
Oh, I love that.
Enya.
Okay, love that. So my way of meditating is actually doing work, which is really weird. It's the only thing that quiets my brain. I'm physically doing things. I have no music playing. Could be blowing out the leaves in my garage or pulling weeds in my backyard. One day I'm pulling weeds in my backyard and I'm thinking, how do I bring value? This is back in the day when I was also buying my probate leads from alltheleads.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how can I gain the attention of a probate attorney? How can I bring value to them? Because everybody's calling them. Everybody's bothering them. You've got real estate investors that stack up letters on Rilus Dana's desk, right? They are always like, they just go to the trash. He never even sees them, right? They come to the front desk. And if they are not pertinent, his team goes, oh, yeah, these are people we don't have a relationship with. So it's really challenging to penetrate that wall. And so what I did as I was pulling weeds, I came up with an idea on a Saturday morning. And the idea was, man, I'm a contractor. I literally have every resource under the sun. I can paint, I can do locksmithing, I can do construction, I can do moving, I can do inventory, which a lot of people with probate need inventory done. There's so many things I can do. And so I came up with this idea. I go to Google and I literally Googled Arizona probate attorneys. And I found out that there's over 600 probate attorneys in the state of Arizona. And I went to the ones that were paying money for Google ads. And this is what I did. I called up Anna Martinez, who, worked for me 8 years ago and was at this time 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, working for me. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to call and I want you to get me an appointment to every probate attorney who's paying for ads, which means they're looking for business, right? And here's what I want you to tell them. Here's the script. Hi, my name is Anna Martinez. We want to pay for a consultation. We're aware that you probably have a free consultation. We want to pay for a consultation. We are starting a new probate services business, and we want to just hear your advice on whether we're missing some of these services or if we're headed down the right track. We're a new fledgling business. We want some advice. Okay. She's like, really? I go, yep. Tell them that we're willing to pay for it. We want to pay for that consultation. We want to talk about it. So Anna sends on Monday, sets an appointment for me for the first person at the very top of the list, somebody that Rilus Dana actually knows. His name is Ryan Hodges. I think you've been on some files or some suits with Ryan Hodges or something, Rilus. And anyway, that's Monday. I go Friday to this appointment and I walk into Ryan Hodges' office. He has a lot of probate attorneys there in downtown Mesa. And I walk in, he goes, how can I help you? This was an interesting call. I really wanted to take this meeting. And I said, my name is Pace, and I'm thinking about starting a business that provides these services: rehoming cats, trash out, listing services, moving services, inventory. And I listed off like helping out with abandoned boats, helping out with abandoned cars, helping out with this, that, and the other, locksmith services, etc. He He's like, oh my gosh, this is great. You know how many times my clients call me, especially the ones out of state that are inheriting a property in the state that they can't handle. They call me and they're like, I need help with this, 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 and this. And he goes, I feel like I'm like a professional Angie's List. All I'm doing is referring contractors to people all the time because I want to provide value to my clients. I love this. And I go, perfect. Do you have anybody that we could try this on? And I'll take the troubles and issues off their hands. He goes, no, I can't. I can't think of one person right now, but I promise you I will. I go, okay, great. So this is Friday. It hasn't even been a week since I was pulling those weeds and meditating about this idea. It's about a 30-minute pitch. I'm out the door. And do you think this probate attorney charged me, or any probate attorney has ever charged me for a consultation?
Nope.
Never once. I've never once paid a consultation fee to an attorney. Not saying that I wouldn't. It's just that when I come in and I tell them I can help them with these issues, they're like, well, dude, I freaking love this. So that's Friday. Saturday morning, I get a call from an unknown number, and I pick it up and he goes, hey, Pace, it's Ryan. I go, Ryan? Right. Oh, you got to be more specific, bro. Like, Ryan who? And he goes, Ryan Hodges, you met with me yesterday. I have a problem. I go, great. What's the problem? And he said, you said you guys do locksmithing, right? I go, yes, I do. I do locksmithing, which I didn't. I did not do locksmithing. But guess what I did have? I knew a locksmith. He says, I have a client who lives in California. My team told this client that we have already changed the locks on this house that she's inheriting, and that we've taken care of it entirely. I just found out that my locksmith never got to the property, and she's currently en route about 45 minutes away from California to the property. And I'm going to look like an idiot if this isn't taken care of. So what do? I go on Google and I look up a company called Papa Lock, which is a franchise. And I get a locksmith to the property. I pay the money. It was like $65. And I meet the homeowner at the property as the locksmith is going through and changing out the locks. And this is what I said to her. I said, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm the person that told Ryan that this was taken care of, and I apologize it wasn't taken care of. I take responsibility, yada, yada, yada. She goes, oh my gosh, no problem. It's all going to work out. I'm in a rush, but I'm glad this is working out. And as that locksmith was picking the lock, I also said, what do you plan on doing with the house? Well, I ended up buying that house, and I ended up wholesaling that house, and I made $37,500, and I already had it sold before Friday was even over. Like, I got the contract, sent it out to a handful of people, and I had already sold it and made $37,000, at least on paper. The next morning, I get a call. Okay, this is Sunday now, a week after this whole idea came about. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just struck the greatest idea on planet Earth, is providing all these benefits and these things to probate attorneys. I get a call from Ryan Hodges on Sunday morning. And I'm like, holy crap, he's pissed off that I bought the house. I didn't communicate to him. He's going to freaking wring my neck. And what does he do? He calls me up and he says, Pace. And I'm like, here it is. This guy's going to tell me I'm a piece of crap. And he says, I just want to call and say thank you. I'm like, oh, okay. What did I do? And he said, my client told me that you fell on the sword, and you told them that you were the one that made the mistake and hadn't had the house locked or changed out the locks. And he's like, I've never had anybody I've referred business to be willing to lay down in front of me to protect me and my brand. You have my loyalty forever. And I was like, you're not mad that I bought the house? And he goes, you bought the house? I go, yeah. He goes, congratulations. And we've done a lot of deals since then.
Awesome.
Okay. A month later, referred me to somebody who his uncle passed away. Son lives in, he was going to Penn State all the way over in Pennsylvania. This is where I got my first free car. You guys ever see me give away cars online and Instagram? I'm typically getting these cars from probate situations. I gave away a yellow Bug a couple of years ago because of a house that Rilus referred me to. I got a yellow Bug in the transaction. We're buying houses, and whatever's in the garage, the sellers are like, whatever it is, take it. We've probably inherited, and I know Jamil has done the same thing. Brent's done the same thing. I probably have inherited 30, 40 cars over the years because working with probate attorneys. It's absolutely bonkers. And so it's the same thing and the same approach I had with Rilus when him and I developed a relationship together. He had, and hopefully this is not too lengthy. I usually get compliments in my DMs, people talking about my storytelling capability. So hopefully you guys are okay with me giving this some breath. So when I meet Rilus Dana, this is how our relationship started. I've told this story before, so I'll sum it up quickly. Rilus and I meet at a picnic barbecue in the backyard of another real estate investor who is actually pretty prolific here in town. His name is Danny. And Danny sneaks into our conversation. He goes, "You're not trying to steal my probate attorney, are you?" And I go, "No, I'm not. Danny, you know I would never do that, brother." And so I told Rilus, I said, "Look, if there's ever a problem or an issue that Danny cannot provide help for, please let me know. I'd be happy to jump on it." Okay. Pedro wants me to tell the story of the dead lady. That's a great story. That's another probate story. Okay. So Rilus, a couple months goes by, him and I have grabbed lunch. We've talked about Instagram. We've talked about a bunch of stuff. I just became Rilus's friend. I truly love Rilus as a brother. I always looked at Rilus as a long lost brother that I never knew I had. Well, Rilus calls me up a couple months later and he says, "Hey, I've got a client. I don't know if you want to help me with it." And I immediately reply back. I'm like, "Of course I want to help you. What's the problem?" Says, "I have a client that lives in Detroit, can't make it here to Arizona. He's inheriting a property that past Sholo, which is a town way up in the mountains, 3 hours away. He's inheriting a property an hour in the boonies away from Sholo, literally like the only house within 40 miles. He is inheriting this thing." I go, "Say no more. Let me talk to your client." So I took my wife, Laura, and my 2 kids at the time. Actually, I think maybe we only had Asher at the time. So I took Laura and Asher up to Sholo. They stayed in a hotel, and I woke up like 4:00 the next morning and drove an hour north to this town. So I took my family on vacation to go and look at this property. What I did is I took my drone, I took photos, I walked through the property, I uploaded those to Google Drive, and then I sent those to Rilus's client. And I said, "Here's the property you're inheriting. Let me know if there's any way I can help you." And this guy then reaches back out to Rilus and he's like, "Dude, do you realize what your friend Pace just did for me?" He went literally and spent an entire day and a half of his life to go take photos and video of a property that nobody would be willing to go to. And he's like, "You're not buying the house?" I go, "No, I'm just willing. I just want to help you. Let me know if there's any problem like that in the future." And that's how my relationship with Rilus started, was how can I take crap off your shoulders to allow you to focus on being a probate attorney? That's your job. Let me take care of bull crap. Let me take care of issues. Let me take care of problems. One of the problems Jamil and I have solved for Rilus in the past is when Rilus has a client that is inheriting a property that has tenants in it that are family members, Jamil and I have helped Rilus's clients by saying, "Let us buy the house as is. We will take over the tenants. We will evict them in a very white glove fashion so that you and the family don't have to deal with that and sour relationships." And same thing. That client went back to Rilus and said, "Dude, this guy Pace solved these problems for me. And it was something I was stressed out about." So I've always gone to probate attorneys from the stance of, what are the issues you have? Okay. Rilus has a client right now that I'm working on buying a house. She has 9 cats, and her contract, she is requiring us to write in the contract, okay, to state, "You are not allowed to buy my house until you rehome the 9 cats that are on the property." This is literally happening right now. And so when Rilus has the ability to tell a client, "Yeah, actually, I've got this crazy guy Pace. You got cats that need to be rehomed. You got iguanas. You got abandoned vehicles. You got boats. You got all sorts of issues. This guy Pace will do it." And not only that, here's what I'm also willing to do for Rilus's clients. I want Rilus to look so damn good to his clients that I submit an offer that states, whatever other offer you receive, as long as it has non-refundable earnest money, they are not going to wholesale it, which, guys, don't get freaked out about that. You can double close. They're not going to wholesale it, and they have a proof of funds. I will pay $1,000 more than any one of those buyers. And that's the offer that Rilus has the ability to present to his clients. Every single time, Rilus looks like a hero. And so that's how I approach clients. I approach a probate attorneys. I go, "Hey, I'm a probate services company, and I offer these types of solutions to people who are going through probate. And let me know when you guys have an opportunity, I can take some things off your plate." I have never once, besides that one locksmith fee, I have never once had to pay for anything out of my pocket. A lot of Rilus's clients call me and they go, I need a trash out. I need a this. I need an inventory. I need a that. And you know what I do? I refer them to other companies. I go, this is the company that I use, or, hey, this is whatever. Or, hey, if you want me to handle it, I'd be happy to, and you can pay the company directly. So I insert myself where other people are not willing to solve a problem for a probate attorney so he can focus on being a business professional.
Love it. What happens if a homeowner dies and the heirs never start the probate process? What happens to the property? From Brendan Lyons.
Ooh, where's that?
Then you got no one that could sign the contract. So
no, I mean, does it go back to the state? Does it, do they eventually lose it to property taxes? If there's a loan on it, does it eventually just foreclose? Like, what happens to these properties that just don't have heirs?
Yeah, nothing. So eventually one of those things, eventually if there's a mortgage, eventually it'll foreclose. And if there's anything left over, it goes back to, it just sits there until someone will go through the process of the probate and claim it. So yeah, sometimes things go on for years and years, because if someone's just living in the property, they don't care that it's still in grandma's name if they still, are living there the same as they were when grandma was alive.
So how do we find those people? Like, what do we do in that situation if somebody passes away and there's not, like, somebody there that is obviously the heir? What do we do there? Is there some sort of research we can do to find who the next of kin is? Like, where do we go? What resources do we use to try to pull that out? Go the extra mile, because we know a lot of people are going to stop at that first. Well, we just can't get a hold of them. We just can't get a hold of the owner. We don't know who's inheriting it. So it's a big mystery, and none of the neighbors know. But how do we get a step past that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you track down the heirs, like you were saying. So you want to see if there's a will. So if there's a valid will, that's going to say who the beneficiaries are. If no one knows, if no one knows that there's a will, if you don't think there is one, they call it the laws of intestacy, which is who that determines who the beneficiaries are, and also who has the priority to serve as a personal representative.
And do those get filed at some point? Like, when somebody passes away, is there just a magical filing of it, or what happens?
Nothing until someone starts the process.
So somebody in the family has to start it every single time, or it's just going to go back to the city?
Yeah. Yep. So a lot of times, so if you're talking to one of the kids and the parents passed away, so a child can get the process started. They can file the probate and get it going, but unless someone does something, nothing's going to happen.
And something interesting there that I always found to find some of the heirs is look at the mailing, the tax mailing address, because I hear it all the time. I get texts every day. I saw this vacant house. It's been vacant for years. Nobody can get a hold of the owner. I don't know how to get it. Look at the mailing address. Where's the tax bill getting sent to? And then you could go on, and typically in most tax assessor sites, you can see if the taxes are being paid or if they're delinquent. And if they're delinquent, that tells you a whole different story. But if they're getting paid, go find out where they're sending that tax bill so that you understand who it is that's paying this thing. Even if they haven't done all the right steps to go through the probate process to get ownership of it, somebody's paying that bill, and try to track them down.
Yeah, or there's companies like airsearch.com where you can research the beneficiaries. I was going to say, you can hire investigators or
airsearch.com. Is that what you called it?
I've never heard of this at all. Give it to us. What is that?
What do you do there?
So basically it's like an investigator you can hire to figure out if the person has family members.
Wow. What does that cost, Rilus?
I don't want to say it depends, but it's like a rate usually. And
it's about $1,000, you said?
Yeah, I think we paid a couple $1,000s one time. I think it's a few $100 an hour or something like that. And then they usually require a retainer, and then they start tracking down. So we had a situation. It was a junior attorney at the time. He started a probate, and then we figured out the person that he opened it for, it was like an aunt. It wasn't actually their aunt. So it's like, hold up, you just filed everything to the court and you told the judge that was your aunt. So I was like, you got a big problem. You better find someone because if you find the right beneficiary, then they can bail you out, because I don't want to go back to the judge and tell them it was just like an aunt. So they found like a second cousin in Poland or somewhere in some small town that was actually the beneficiary. So I get this call a lot. People say, what if there's no family members? Then what? What if, it's like, if there's no family members, then you're going to go to the judge and tell them everything you did to determine there's no family members. So unless you've hired an investigator and have gone all the way out to make sure there's no second cousins.
What if you partnered with an investigator like you do a real estate agent?
That's a great idea. I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just find an investigator, go, we'll split this deal here. I don't have the $2,000 to pay you up front, but I think if we get this deal, it's a $10, $20, $30, $50,000 deal. Here's the track record that my company has.
You hire them first, and then after the first one, then the next ones you partner on.
Got it. You don't think that they do it off the bat? It'd be tough.
It's hard to get anybody to do anything off the bat. How many times have people messaged you, Brent? Hey, man, can I just start up with your TTP program and I'll just split my first deal with you?
Yeah, every day.
How many of that do you get? And you know what that?
Yeah.
And what does that result in?
No, I'm just like, maybe you have one in the family. Maybe somebody like is, you know what I mean? Somebody from high school, or so like not cold. You know what I mean? If it's not cold, go try to see if you can work that. But if it is cold, yeah. Do the first one. Look at what I made on this one that you found. Do you want to partner with me on this thing? We could do this. Oh,
you could go crazy with it.
Here's what I'll promise everybody right now on Wholesale Hotline. If you guys ever run into a situation where you have to pay for the airsearch.com and it's going to cost you a couple grand, I will fund that deal for you. I've done this with people with Rilus where a deal comes to me and a wholesaler says, I can't pay for the probate. And I go, no problem. And I bring it to Rilus, I pay for the probate, and I get wedged into the deal. All day long, bring me those. I will stroke the check all day long. And not only that, it would be so fun to find out that Santa Claus or some cool thing is like the heir of a property. Let's freaking do it. Somebody call me tomorrow and say, let's go use airsearch.com. That sounds dope.
Great resource, Rilus. Thank you for sharing that. Rilus, I've got a question that I get often. And it's when you've got, say, multiple heirs on a property and all of them are in agreement except for one. Is there a way to push a deal forward and hold the holdout's portion at title or with an attorney or with the court so that a deal could get pushed forward and then that holdout heir can get dealt with at another time?
It may be. So if it's a situation where you have someone that can sign the contract, so if it's a probate open and you have one PR, sometimes although one person's in charge, they'll go to all their siblings, right? And they'll be like, they want everyone to kind of like vote. I don't typically like that. I like someone just to take charge and do what's best. So if it's that type of situation where there's one person that has the authority to get it done, then that's one thing. But if it's a situation where the 4 or 5 kids actually own it, like let's say it might have been a beneficiary deed, which I don't like, that goes to the 4 kids, and 3 of them are in agreement to sell, but one of them says no. The way to force them, it's called a partition action. That's the legal action, but you're just talking about litigation, right? So it's you get a lawyer and expensive.
So that requires a trial to do a partition action. It's like a trial to get that done.
Yeah, basically. But usually what happens when I've been a part of them, usually by the time you get an attorney involved and they see that you're serious, they end up settling and agreeing to sell it.
Rilus, you know that deal we did in South Scottsdale where there was 2 brothers and they were fighting for like 3 years? Was that something that is similar to what you're talking about here?
No. So that was still in trust, and the one brother was just kind of dragging his feet and they couldn't get along. They thought they were going to fix the property themselves, but they never did.
Was there not one named responsible party? Is that why there was such an issue with the brother dragging his feet?
There was one named person, but he just wasn't doing anything. Like he wasn't getting the house sold and wasn't taking action.
Okay. And that's the guy who I ended up buying the house from.
Yeah.
He was just chilling. Like he wasn't in a rush is what I remember.
Right. Yeah. He came to see me. The first interview, the first meeting with me, he was telling me the situation, and I was like, dude, you better hurry. Your brother's gonna sue you. And then he's like, oh yeah, he already has. And I was like, you should have led with that. Like, 50 minutes later,
So
and now you're
you have
pulling
two brothers. There's one that was named as the responsible party, the person that was supposed to be making the decisions and moving it forward. And then there was a brother that was waiting on that, the first one, to make all the decisions. And the first one wasn't making decisions for such a long period of time that the brother who wasn't the decision maker finally was like, dude, I'm just going to sue your ass because we should have sold this house a long time ago. That's what happened.
Yeah. So he hired an attorney, and I was like, I told the attorney, like, basically like, hey, just chill. We got the probate going. Like, if you guys will just wait, we'll get this solved. So we kept having status conferences with the court, just to make sure there's some sort of progress. But eventually so that litigation ended because we were able to get the property sold and things distributed. But that situation, one person had the authority to make the decision. If they were each owners of the property and they couldn't agree, then you'd have to do a partition action. You'd have to, litigation, have the judge decide what should be done with the property.
So the challenge with that is, let's say that I have 4 heirs, right? And there's 3 that say yes and 1 that says no. That means that the 3 that say yes have to then go forward and pay money for a partition action to force that 4th one to actually make a decision. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically, because the opportunity may be if someone's willing to buy, 3/4 of it. But what is, partial interest? There's, most buyers are going to want a substantial discount if they don't have the whole property.
Very interesting.
So that's a very common deal killer with probate, I would say. If you have 3 out of the 4 in agreement, that one person's going to kill your deal. So you got.
Okay, what about this kind of similar situation? Christina says, Rilus, if you have 4 beneficiaries named in a will for a property and one wants to be bought out before the sale of the property, what is the process for that? Have you heard of that? Something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to know who's in charge. The personal representative, they could do that potentially. So that's pretty common, where you could say, hey, if you're willing to take X right now, then we'll buy you out for that. But that's assuming there's other assets in the trust or estate to be able to pay that person.
This is where probate gets really challenging, is because you get multiple people involved in a transaction that you as the investor really don't have direct access to communicating and negotiating with them. And so you're sitting there trying to play telephone with the personal representative who's saying, well, I know I'm the decision maker, but I still have 4 people that are family members that after I sell this house, I still have to answer to these people and see them at Thanksgiving dinner. So I can't just go carte blanche and do whatever I want. I still have to answer to people and be political. And that is one of the biggest challenges of probate, is you have to be a master negotiator to negotiate with a personal representative and get them to be motivated to go talk to the other people that are involved in the transaction.
And the interesting thing about probates is typically it's older people, older dated houses, and 75% sell within the first 90 days of the probate being going all the way through. That's why people go after probate properties. These are the properties that are really, really, really good to go after. They just take that extra few steps as you're generating the leads to have a quality conversation with whoever is the personal representative or their attorney to see if you can make a deal out of it. And they're great. They're great opportunities. That's why we're talking about it today. That's why it gets brought up all the time.
Hey, Commerce 1974, I've called your agent 3 times and they're not responding. So thank you, but it's not on us, bro. Hitting that ball back to you.
Ping pong, ping pong.
There's a good question in there, Rilus, about and I guess it's for all of us, how to protect yourself. If you go and you hire the attorney for them because they can't afford it, how do you make sure that you're protected and they just don't sell it to somebody else or keep it forever?
Right. Great question.
Yeah. So here's kind of what I think we've worked out, where, some of the deals I've done with Pace and other investors, what he does is so make sure you're dealing with the person that's going to be, that's going to have the authority, right? The person that's going to be able to sign the contract eventually. So if it's a probate situation, this is a person that's going to be appointed as a personal representative. but they don't have any authority until you open the probate. But a lot of times the challenge is they don't have the money to pay for these things. So what I've been seeing work well is in the contract with that person, put in the contract that the earnest deposit can be used to pay for legal fees for the probate. So that way so you get the person under contract, and it's a way that the probate can be started.
So wait, he said use the EMD,
Mm-hmm.
but then what happens if you can't clear title issues? And so the EMD, it's still being risked because you're releasing that money for services, and if the deal doesn't end up working out, you're out that money. There's no way to there's no recourse.
Correct. I guess that's a risk. So what I've been doing for Pace and other investors is I need just $1,000 up front to start the probate, and then I get paid the rest of the fees when it's closing.
And that's huge. Yeah. A lot.
So,
yeah. That's the conversation you want to have is, would you be able to get paid through the closing on this?
Right. And Rilus is doing a real big service by reducing his minimum retainer. I mean, typically a retainer with a attorney is $5,000. Probably probate's at least $2,500, and he's taking his down to $1,000 and then getting paid on the back end just because of the strength of the relationships and the people he's working with.
And I'll do that for wholesale hotline people, investors, but a stranger off the street, if the only thing in the estate is real estate, I'm getting paid up front before I do the probate, because if they don't have the money to pay me now, and if the plan is to keep the house, or if I don't know there's immediate plans to sell it, I'm not going to do that probate unless I'm paid up front.
Is there some sort of paperwork that you could do if I paid for the attorney? Can I put a lien on this property?
No.
I mean, I guess it doesn't even. I mean,
we've tried. We've gone down this road. You can't, right? Because you can't go and put a lien on a property if you didn't have a legal arrangement with somebody who had the authority to make that arrangement in the first place, right? So that's great question, Brent. Brent is trying to get this answer out of us so you guys can hear this in the audience, is that there is a 100% risk right there that if the deal doesn't work out, or let's say that this is what we've risked before too. Somebody, here's a really important one. I got a lead from Brent years ago, and I tell this story all the time because it was a really risky deal for me as the buyer. I said, I will buy this and I will pay Rilus for the probate fees regardless of the outcome, because what could happen is we could have gone through and done a title search, found out, the lady actually owes $100,000 on the house, more than what it's worth. Or we could have found out that the lady already had some sort of arrangement with the tenant, or we could have found out a litany of things really at the end of the day. And so I was willing to roll that dice, and I paid the fee up front, a portion of it. And I rolled the dice because unfortunately that's what we do in business, right? It's the same thing when you spend money on a cold caller or texting or pulling a list on batch leads or whatever it is. You spend money in the hopes of getting something back. Now, my wholesale fees and my fees and profitability on a regular deal are under $20,000. Okay, I'm not Brent. Brent's crushing it on his wholesale fees. However, my average probate deal is nearly $50,000. So for me, when I'm looking at $1,000 or $2,000 I'm spending up front, one thing I can say is I've never lost the ability to buy a house, right? Because you're signing a contract with somebody who has not been named as the personal representative, in the hopes that once they do become the personal representative, they actually honor the commitment that was actually never a legitimate agreement in the first place. You're hoping they honor it. And I've never had that problem. And I think maybe it's because of framing, it's expectations, it's doing what we say we're going to do, that people follow through and abide by the contract. But it is something I think that people probably in this business have lost money on, where the deal ended up not being a deal. They found out there were other liens, or they found out that the person who they signed the contract with was not the decision maker, nor the probate process proved somebody else to be the decision maker for whatever reason. So I think I have never found out a way to 100% secure that money.
So, Rilus, if they don't, sorry, real quick, just so we can button this, if they don't have a personal representative, who selects that?
So
If there's not a named personal representative, somebody just passes away before they finish the paperwork or finish the will or finish whatever else, it has to go to court. How do you know you're talking to the right person? How do you know that you're talking to the decision maker? Because this happens a lot where you're talking to like the wild brother over here that's the expressive and he's saying he's in charge and everything. And then you find out the older sister is really the calm, collected, cool one that really knows what's going on. You know what I mean? How do you know that you're talking to the right person when you're talking to a probate lead?
Yeah. So if it's all siblings, they would have equal priority. So any one of them has the priority to serve, but no one has greater priority. But if it's a case where there's a surviving spouse and children from a different relationship, then the surviving spouse actually has priority over those children.
Sure. Got it.
Interesting stuff, eh? Like, you don't set your stuff up right. If you don't protect your family, then your ex could be like pissing away your house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what's really devastating is non-married couples. I've had so many crying widows in my office. You know, when I tell them that their house actually needs to go half to his kids. You know, the fact that he never did his will means that you're only entitled to half. And
now, what about like a common law? Okay, common, like you just said, you know, non-married, but like common law. If there's no kids, will the common law spouse get it?
Texas may have common law. Arizona doesn't at all, and neither does California. So you could be together for 100 years, but if you're not legally married, you have no rights.
You know, in Canada, your common law, living together for 6 months.
No.
100%.
What?
Yeah, you got a girl move into your house for 6 months. She can go get a mortgage.
Really?
100% she can. That's how it works in Canada.
If you die, she gets it?
Half, bro. Half.
That's only if you have kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just moving in, you said.
We've got so many bells to ring. I'm sorry. I've been watching what's happening in the chat here. I've been keeping mental note. We've got Miriam Espinoza, first deal. We had Heidi Del Torre, first deal.
Yes.
We've got Sarah Miller, first deal. All first deals. All these ladies got their first deals.
All these ladies.
Wait, I gotta check.
Wait, where's the thing? Oh,
wait, did that just fall from the sky?
Yes.
We have a sky bell now?
Where's my
Bro, that's legit.
Yeah.
I should have come into the studio today. I want to see that.
Legit if we have the bottom to it. Here we go.
We got a sky bell.
That's right.
Guys, if you are having a struggle with getting your first deal, I'm doing a live on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to help anybody who hasn't gotten their first deal yet out. Link is, it's going to be on my YouTube channel. There you go. Link
I got a gift
a reminder. It's just going to be I love that hair.
There you go.
Can you put that link in the chat again and put it up on the screen? That'll be on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Set your reminder, guys. If you haven't gotten your first deal and you want to hear the sound of that bell, ring it.
Ring it.
No, not on cue.
No.
Sky bell.
Sky bell.
So
all right.
Someone left this on
No,
my
you don't
floor.
need to bring your own. You don't need to bring your own leads. I will show you how to get the leads. Wednesday at 1 o'clock. We had Miriam, Heidi, Sarah, all got their first deals. Incredible.
There we go. Drop that bell.
And now Rilus is back with new hair.
Oh my gosh.
He's a constable or whatever, right?
What
do they call it?
No, Canadian.
Barrister.
He's
a barrister.
He's a barrister. He's here to
a solicitor.
He's here to barrist you.
Yeah.
That's right. I just ordered some Legos. I'm going to be making some legal videos. So here's my
wow.
Here's my Lego judge I got today.
Guys, give this man some love. I'm going to give you his YouTube channel in the side chat. Please subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's crushing it over there. So go over to his YouTube channel, guys. It's a great way to connect with him, see his other videos. We're going to start seeing Lego videos over there, bro.
Yeah, I got new cast down here. So going to be, I'm bringing my videos. So I was on a boring phone call and I had my iPad and like one little Lego guy. So I started making like a stop motion video. And then I was like, wait a minute, like I could recreate some of my legal videos. So I got all these Legos coming from all over the world now. So I got like a grandma and grandpa. I got some lawyers and some doctors. So
Dude, that's
Get it
freaking
on
dope.
TikTok, brother.
yeah.
Love it. Oh, what are you doing Wednesday?
I'm doing a live for anybody who has been watching and hasn't gotten their first deal yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a process. It's like, actually, two of the deals that were done, were done using this process.
All right.
So, and these were ladies that had struggled and they were just over it. And so, guys, set your reminders, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific. And if you haven't gotten a deal done yet, it's time to stop. It's time to stop with this foolishness. If you've already gotten deals, but your consistency is off, stop with the foolishness. Come to my live Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Love it. There you go.
You have the day off on Wednesday? You're not filming your TV
I got
show?
a day off Wednesday for this live. Because I went to the producers and I said,
do I have to film?
People in the world who haven't gotten their first deal yet.
Do
They
I have
said,
to
"Take
film or
Wednesday
can I
off."
come to the challenge too?
You can come.
All right. The reminder's right there, guys. It's on YouTube. He's going to be streaming it on YouTube, it looks like.
YouTube.
Love it. Love it.
Love it.
Let's get
Live on
let's
YouTube,
get some
baby.
more probate questions in here. We got a whole bunch.
Come on, probates.
Okay,
Come
here
on,
we
you
go.
probates.
Corey G, question. If you find out during the escrow process that you have to go through probate due to deceased person on title you didn't know about, does that mean you don't have a valid contract? Holy crap, what a great question.
Technically, I guess Pace would say, yeah, right? So the person that signed it is lacking the authority. Now, individually, they could still be liable, right? But you're gonna need. Sounds like you need a probate in that situation to finish the deal.
Yeah, wouldn't that depend on if like a spouse is involved in that?
Yeah, it could. Yeah. So.
I mean, wouldn't they just, if you're married and one spouse passes away, does the other spouse just automatically inherit the property 100%?
No, depends on the title. So if it was titled just in the name of the deceased person, period,
right,
then something needs to be done to transfer it.
Jamil, I think this is the only question that I've ever seen regarding this exact thing. How do I wholesale empty land filled with trees as opposed to empty
land? To a
land
lumberjack.
To a lumberjack. That's your buyer.
To Pace today.
You just look at it like
it's a flannel shirt, bro.
That's right, dude.
Swinging some axes.
Yeah,
this is perfect for you.
I'm a woodworker, dog.
Depends on how big that land is, bro.
Yeah.
So how big is this property? I mean, listen, there is a butt for every seat. There's a buyer for every deal.
Yep.
Depends on what price.
And you might be able to get these trees cleared by somebody that's actually going to use the wood.
Of course.
And they might not charge you for that. Or if it's like wood that is like rotted and it's not useful, then there'll be a cost to it. But how you wholesale it is the same as wholesaling vacant land. You're going to wholesale the address or the parcel number, and the instruments you're going to use are going to be the exact same way. How you value it is what's going to change. And how you value it's going to depend on the size and whether or not that wood is useful or not.
Mm-hmm.
So look at the size of the lot. See, is there a lumber mill or is there someone nearby that would like to come and clear the land and take the pulp off so that it can be processed? Or it's not pulp, then it's still wood. Yeah. Or is it something that's going to cost you it's going to cost you money for somebody to come and clear? Either way, it's still wholesaled as vacant land.
Pace, can we pull up that one? I think it's from William. He's asked a few times, and I think it's a great question. Does a property have to be listed?
Oh, it's such a great question.
I did not see that.
Yeah. So William's asked this a few times. Click on it, Matt. There you go. Is it a requirement that a probate property must be listed before a wholesale offer can be accepted? Facing this twice right now. Or is this state by state?
It's going to be state by state. So like in California, they have those referees that's going to give it a value. And in California, before you close the probate, there's a hearing where the judge signs off on everything.
Right.
So if it's sold for less than that referee value, you got to explain why. So
it doesn't need to be listed on the MLS. It just needs to be sold at the assessed value or greater.
Or there's got to be a reason why. Yeah. So some attorneys are just worried about liability, right? Attorneys are just, scared of everything. There's some attorneys that say I'm too friendly with wholesalers and that, I should just stick to my business in law and turn everything over to a realtor, that's their world and that every property, needs to be listed.
Right. Right. It's really interesting. I had a probate deal where, unfortunately, a young lady passed away, and it was going through probate. Her mom was inheriting the property. She was the personal representative, and we had to put together the whole package. It was for $190,000 in Flagstaff, which is a smoking price. And we put in all of our paperwork, comps. We looked at, we got a contractor in there, gave it bid, put it all together, and the judge, boom, stamped it. We got the deal, done deal, sold it the next day for $40,000.
Wow.
Nice.
Didn't have to put it on the market. So it's a state by state. And I think if you're in a situation where you have to justify a purchase contract or justify a price to a judge and to the attorneys involved, make it as, put it together. Like really put some effort into this thing so that they don't have to dig in and look at all the other things. Have everything there. Show the comparables. Show a contractor's bid. And show your experience if you have some. If not, then squat up with somebody that does and leverage somebody else's experience if they're looking for something like that. And it should go well. Did for us. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, you remember last time when we were on Wholesale Hotline, I told everybody go and review Wholesale Hotline.
Yes, on the podcast.
Yeah. Do you know how many we got?
How many?
5.
What?
5.
Got 5 new guys.
5 guys.
Do we have the link?
Yes,
Do we have like
burger.
the proper link?
Can we get a proper link?
While
you.
we look for that proper link, let's
5 of you took the time. Like the reason I because look, we've got, we've had upwards of 600 people on today's live.
Yep.
Only 20 of them hit the reminder for my live on Wednesday to get their first deal. And I'm sure there's more out of 600 people. There's more than 20 of you that haven't gotten your first deal yet or haven't got consistency in your business yet.
Mm-hmm.
And yet only 20 people took action. We gave a link for people to leave us a review, and only 5 of you guys took action. Guys, do you see how these numbers translate? You get 600 people and 6 people take action. You get 500 people and 5 people take action. How is that possible?
Great question.
We're going to put a link in for the podcast reviews.
Okay, as we're looking up that link, let's ask this question to Rilus. Rilus, why does the probate process take so damn long?
So Arizona, after we get them appointed, you have to publish in the newspaper and start a 4-month creditor period. So that's part of the reason why. So even if we crank through all of the steps, you still have to wait 4 months to give any creditors a chance to make a claim against the estate. So
that's interesting. Do you see that that's common in all other states?
Yeah. Yep. California, same thing. Also 4-month period. And I would say, yeah, I think in every state, there's going to be some sort of creditor period like that.
Let's see here. There's a
That's
couple
a great
really
question,
good questions
Pace.
here. It was a good question, but he kind of worded it incorrectly. So I'm unsure of a couple of things. Let's just go through it.
Yeah.
Rilus, what happens when you file a memorandum with the seller of a probate, but after the probate, they won't the decision maker. Okay. This is why I decided not to.
I get it. Yeah, but we get it.
What is it? I don't get it.
Basically, you signed a contract with somebody that wasn't the personal representative, and then you filed a memorandum of the contract that you signed with somebody that shouldn't have signed it. Is it void? Is it voidable? Is it not a real contract? What happens there, Rilus?
I think that's probably the best you can do, right? To secure your thing. It's probably the best you can do. But if they're never actually appointed as personal representative of the estate, then they never have the authority. But if you have a good faith agreement with them, that they are going to become the personal representative, then you could start with the contract. but I don't know. I always defer that one to Pace. I have two people. I'd say, yeah, Pace. They would know better on that. But I think that's the best you can do. But I think technically,
I've ran into this so many times, and I've ran into brick walls every single time, even after hiring real estate attorneys and litigators and going after people who signed a contract with me. If they didn't have the right to sign the contract in the first place, I was on a fool's errand. That's it. There's no way around it. I was on a fool's errand. I did not do my homework up front. I did not verify that that person had the legal authority to sign a contract. Guys, that's literally like walking out on the street. I'm going to go down to Walmart and I'm going to walk up to the Walmart greeter and go, hey, I really want to buy this house on 123 Main Street. Can you sign this contract?
Yep.
And then going down and filing a memorandum on 123 Main Street and say, well, this person, even though they weren't the decision maker, signed this contract.
Oh, Pace, don't you think that's going to get somebody like in so much trouble with the Attorney General?
Yeah, but who's going to actually spend the money to go after that? You know what I'm saying? Like everything costs money. The only way to get anybody's attention is to spend money. So even the Attorney General, the only way you're going to get their attention on anything is if there's a complaint 25,000 times on the same person. The Attorney General goes, okay, I'm going to stop focusing on really important things to come and focus on this one person that illegally signed a contract. They're not going to do it. It's such small potatoes. They'll never waste their time unless you have some inside track. Maybe you're dating the girl that is the executive assistant or something like that. That's the only way you're going to be able to pull a string there. They don't care. Nobody cares. Is the problem big enough for them to justify spending time on it? The answer is absolutely not. And so what you do is you hire an attorney, and the attorney is going to go, I'll go after them. Give me a $5,000 retainer and I'll go after them. But I don't think you have a case.
Yeah, we've had cases where other people have done a memorandum, and then we open up probate, and we figure out that they signed a contract with someone else, and
yeah, actually, you and I just had one last summer.
Yeah, so.
we had a deal where I bought a house, and I got under contract, and what was it? Maybe a year later, I couldn't get a hold of the guy that signed the contract. He had signed the same contract to like 18 different people. And it turns out that he didn't have legal authority to sell the house in the first place. And so we went to his mother, who actually was the person who had the legal authority. And guess who magically was the probate attorney on that situation? It was Rilus Dana. And it was amazing. We just went to the client. We got her signature through the process, and we were able to buy the house. But all the other 17 people that had memorandums on the house, they all went and filed memorandums. All I had to do was challenge their contracts and say these weren't valid contracts, and every one of them fell like flies, and we were able to buy the house. Most of them didn't even last a single email when our attorney wrote an email over to them and said, hi, I'm representing Pace Morby. My name is such and such attorney. We are challenging your contract that you filed a memorandum on. And they immediately reply back and go, whatever you want, I will take my memorandum off. Because my attorney threatened a misdemeanor action, right? Saying you actually filed a memorandum on a property you didn't have a legal contract on. This is a misdemeanor in the state of Arizona. So it's easy to challenge a memorandum. They don't stick unless you had a valid contract in the first place.
Yep.
Awesome. It's not a great answer that people don't want to hear.
That's reality, though. That's
okay. The one I'm working on is probate, but they have already finished probate and have a personal representative selected, which is the person that I got to sign the agreement. That would be the personal representative. So if your personal representative was named through the probate process, that's the person that you need to sign a contract with. And then you have the ability to file a memorandum on that property. Alex Salazar. So when the memorandum does nothing to title, since the seller who signed wasn't the decision maker, even after it's filed and stamped with the county. That is correct. The county's job is not to determine the legitimacy of your memorandum. That's not their job. You're going to them and you're paying them to file a legal document for $17 or $30. They're not a legal department that makes the determination whether this is a good and valid memorandum. They're saying you are filing a memorandum, and you acknowledge that there are something can come back to you. You can get in trouble if you did this illegitimately, and you sign and say, yes, I agree. And then they will file a memorandum, even if it's illegitimate.
I get this question a lot, and I love
Good-
that
good
Claudio
one.
asked this. Rilus, how soon should we be reaching out to the sellers after the owner passes? Psychologically speaking, what is not too soon?
That's tough. It's going to vary for everyone. Some people, like the day of, I get calls like the day of, like someone, like my spouse passed. How long ago? An hour. It's like, oh gosh, like mourn a little bit. Like you can have the funeral, and then call me. But some
Interesting,
people just
yeah.
kind of want to get like right after it, right? They want to kind of like, I think that helps ease their anxiety. I think a good approach is if you're reaching out, don't tell them that you know that someone died. Just pretend it's like a regular sales call. You know what I mean? That you're buying
That's
houses in
exactly
the
right.
area, and don't target them as a widow.
What does
I
that
get
mean?
that
What does that
question.
mean, Brent? What would that script sound like?
Listen, you're calling about the property, okay? You're not calling about the death. You're not calling about whatever. They will tell you it, and your tone better change fast. You better go to a very, very kind and empathetic tone real fast. Because if you just start bulldogging and you start talking fast and you start going, they will block you forever. Be like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Are you okay to talk? Do you want me to give you some time on this? Like, back all the way off and let them come towards you. And if they don't, let them go and call them in a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is all about your tone of voice when you're making that call, and you're simply calling about the property. Hi, I was calling about the property on 1212 Banana Street. I was trying to reach the owner. You know what I'm saying? And then you're just getting into it, and you're getting into that conversation, and you're just saying, oh man, we're looking to buy a property in that area. Had no idea what was going on. We actually specialize in working with a lot of people that are going through this situation. So if there's anything that I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Can you tell me who's in charge of, the property? That's basically it. You're just warming it up, and you're being very, very, very kind.
I really love that. I think Brent has some of the best scripts in the game. One thing I would add to that is that instead of saying, if there's anything I can do to help, because that's so ambiguous and kind of a pulled out of my pocket thing, I would go to them and say, here are a few things we've done for other people in the situation. Let me know if there's something else similar to this. So it could be, storing things or moving cars, or, hey, what are you doing with the excess stuff, or whatever it may be. If you need help with an estate sale, we know great people that do that kind of stuff. Give them a very specific example of something you can bring to the table so that they don't have to guess on how they can utilize you, if that makes sense.
Love it.
Let's see, man, you know how many freaking great questions we've had today?
Hey, Dave Da Silva, if you sent me a deal and it's not in Phoenix, Florida, or Texas, it's not probably for me. Probably need to see one of my franchises, but someone in the DMs will help you out.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, a month is way too long. I know Christina said that she received, here we are, her father received a letter even before she received a letter before her father was buried. But Brent saying that approach, guys, that is 1000% the right approach. You don't call them on behalf of probate. You never, ever, ever do that.
Yeah, even if you are working the pre-probate list, you don't know anyone died. You don't know. It's just a regular inquiry.
Yep.
People get hit a lot. Like, and I warn them, once I tell them it's going to get worse. As soon as you're appointed personal representative, and that hits, I say, turn off your phone.
Here's a good one. So you mentioned ways you could help a widower. How about someone that filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy? Just money, cash? Sometimes. I mean, that they're the food bank. A lot of people. I used to own assisted living and behavioral health homes, and you guys don't know about food banks, but you guys know you can drive to a food bank and you can talk about somebody who's a widower, and the food bank will give you like a full-on trunk full of groceries if you can show that you're going to go give those to a widower. And food banks are in every county. So my son Asher and I, when we used to go on appointments, and we had this one guy used to tell this story, haven't told it in a while, but we go to this appointment, Arizona, 115 degrees. My son and I go inside the house. It's hot as hell. And the guy who lets us into the house says, I'm so sorry. My power hasn't been on in 5 months. I have no groceries. I have no this. I have no that. It is so blasted hot in this house. Like you're just in Arizona, you don't sweat. But we were sweating. It was so hot and uncomfortable. And so what we did is I said, hey, you know what? I don't really have a lot of money to give you, but I'd love to just swing by, get you some groceries. So I took him to the food bank. We filled up the back of my truck with groceries, took it back to his house, and I never bought that house. So guys, there's a lot of things you can do to help people. A lot of things you can do to help people. Think about things that you can do. Utilize resources like the food bank. If somebody just had filed bankruptcy and they're a widower, they probably need a fridge full of groceries. I don't think we've ever talked about that. Did you guys know that you could go to the food bank and just full on pick up a whole trunk full of groceries?
Yep. You have a right need. I mean, you could go up and pick it up for yourself if you need it.
Yeah.
Not that, if you don't need it, don't do that.
Right.
Let's see. Okay. So how about if the property owner had filed Chapter 7 prior to their death? Can the heir still sell the property? Have you ever ran into that, Rilus?
No, the bankruptcy is kind of a different issue. So that's kind of, I don't know how that would work. So if the property is in the estate, usually all the debts are unsecured, right? Usually the house, it's only the secured debts that are tied together with it. So yeah, I don't know. I'd say check with the bankruptcy attorney.
Man, we've had some amazing questions in here, guys. I'm going to drop in Rilus Dana's probate YouTube channel. Again, where can people connect with you, Rilus? Where's the best place to connect with you? Because there's a lot of people that have questions. Now, one of the questions that popped up a lot that we touched on once, but we've had a few thousand people come in and out of Wholesale Hotline tonight. So right now we're well above 500 live viewers. Some of them are people that didn't hear this from the beginning. Rilus can only help you in real life scenarios in Arizona and California. Okay. He knows a lot about the probate process, but your state is very specific in their laws, and you need to go develop a relationship, a friendship with somebody in your local area that also is a probate attorney. But Rilus, where can people connect with you? How can they find out more about some of your digital asset trusts, or how can they find out ways that they can utilize your services or refer people to you? Where do you want to be connected with?
Yeah, so you can go to rilusdana.com, my first and last name. I have links there to my different websites. So I practice law in Arizona and California. So if you have a specific need there, and then I've shared the pre-probate list with other wholesalers that are calling on it. So I love working with wholesalers and helping in any way I can. If there's attorneys in your group, you can invite them to my attorney-only private Facebook group. So I've been going live there on Tuesday nights for attorneys. But the goal there is to build that community for attorneys. But like Jamil said, it's tough. Attorneys are a different breed. But I'm keeping that private because I want to keep helping attorneys. And that's where if you're networking with other attorneys and they have questions on how I share fees and how I do everything, I'm willing to share everything and on the attorney end with them and that group.
One thing that's cool about Rilus, guys, let's touch on this before we wrap up for the night, is that when Rilus does a real estate deal with us, Rilus not only gets his fee as a probate attorney, but he, through a disclosure statement, tells his client that he may or may not participate in the real estate transaction on the back end. And so when you talk to a probate attorney, you can go to them and say, hey, I know a probate attorney that's working with other real estate investors that not only gets their probate fee, but he also has figured out a way to legally get paid on the real estate transaction, the wholesale fee. So every time Jamil and I make money on a deal with Rilus also gets a portion of the profits. So in that situation, you can do that, and you can tell probate attorneys it's perfectly legal, and then send them over to Rilus's Facebook group to figure out the paperwork and the documentation in order for them to do it in your backyard as well. Rilus, what is the name of that Facebook group?
I think it's just Private Mott Legal. So like attorney, yeah, it's Private Mott Legal. There's a link to it at rilusdana.com. There's a link to that.
I'm going to pull it up as Brent Daniels wraps us up for the day. And Jamil talks about his
Rilus,
challenge.
thank you so much for being on here again. You're an incredible attorney, incredible friend to the show, incredible friend to all of us. So thank you so much. It was an honor. I think a lot of people got a lot of really tricky questions answered today that we do not have the expertise to answer. So thank you for being on here and making that crystal clear for everybody. Jamil's got at 1:00
Wednesday
Pacific Standard Time. He's got get your first deal done.
Yeah, guys, if like, you know, the three winners, the three people that got a deal last week,
Yep.
They really needed to get a deal done.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was time. So if it's your time and you haven't gotten it together yet, guys, don't sleep on it.
And if you want an appetizer to that, 10 a.m. to noon, a little hour break before the main event, I will be going live for 2 hours answering any wholesale, any investment questions that you have live on the Brent Daniels YouTube channel. Also, we're going to be breaking down a real cold call. We're going to be breaking it down on all the good things, the bad things that went on, what to do with your tone, what to do with the pace, what to do with your scripting. So make sure you check that out Wednesday, right before, and then just roll it right in, baby.
Roll it right in there.
Pace, when are you live again for everybody on YouTube, brother?
Last night, we had over 900 people on Sunday service, a very, very fun Sunday service. And I don't know what got into the crowd, but magically, people started donating money through super stickers. And $10 comes in, $50 comes in, then all of a sudden $100 comes in, then all of a sudden $2.99, then $5.99. We ended up getting, I told people to stop giving us money. Stop it. Stop. And it got up to about $3,700 on Sunday service this last week. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, I told the audience, I go, guys, I don't want the money. Where all of my YouTube income goes is I end up bonusing all of my team, regardless of how much money comes in on the YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that in half. My team will get half of your donations. And on next week's Sunday service, we're going to take the other half of the money and we're going to buy foreclosure data for people to call on. You guys saw the episode where Ingrid came on and she made $150,000 and one of her partners, Dario, made $50,000. It was his first deal. That came from a list that we provided for free. I can tell you that probably $2 to $3 million in assignment fees get paid every single year on free lists that we give away. So this coming Sunday service, all I'm doing is taking the money that was donated on last week's Sunday service, and we're going to be giving it away through foreclosure lists. And we want people to come out there and squad up with each other. And guys, go listen to Brent Daniels break down a cold call. It will help you take those lists and see exactly how to call on those lists once you receive them. Rilus Dana, how else can people get a hold of you, brother?
RilusDana.com. Find all my stuff there. Barrister style. Yeah, lots of opportunities. So attorneys, they can really benefit from your help, right? I mean, we're a different breed, attorneys, but you got to earn their trust. I talked.
Does it help to earn trust by, if I showed up to your office wearing that wig, Rilus, would I get farther along the process?
Yeah, in my office with me.
So good.
Other attorneys, I don't know. So, but yeah, thanks for having me. I love the show. I learned so much from you guys, from wholesalers. I feel like, attorneys are the same thing, although a lot of times they have bigger egos, but we're all just problem solvers. So you guys have a different set of tools, and if we squad up, we can make it a win-win-win situation where everyone benefits.
Love it. Rilus Dana, thank you so much for coming out. We will have you back on here in the future. We love you so much, guys. We love everybody. What episode are we on again, Brent?
117.
Holy moly. 117, guys. We'll see you next week on episode 118. We will be doing general Q&A. We out.
Love you.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.